Good morning once again, and welcome to our business community support discussions that we do here on the Main Street Main Street Ford Dodge Facebook page, and also on the YouTube channel for Alpha Media. So welcome aboard once again as we have our conversations. And this is an interesting one. We're really excited about today because today is our year in review. And so we're going to be talking about some of the things that have happened in our year of doing this program. So let's bring on all of our regular contributors here. We have Cheryl O'Hearn with Spin Market Plus Digital. Good morning. We also have, I'm hitting wrong buttons as you guys can see, Darcy Swan with North Central Iowa's SBDC.
We're just seeing how well people have been paying attention, right?
That's right.
Our names are there.
Chris Patrick, who's able to join us as well. We're excited to be able to get her on. So good morning, Chris.
Good morning. I'm not sure how well my internet is working since I'm in Southern Iowa, but we're going to try it.
Cool.
Well, that's what we do each week. We just hop on and we see what happens, right?
That's the fun part of being live.
There you go. Well, this is the year in review, so kind of an exciting year it's been. Let's talk a little bit about what this last year has looked like, because we were sitting there at the mid-end April, and the world was sort of feeling like it was crashing down around us. I mean, that's at least from my perspective, kind of what we were seeing. We were talking about 15 days to stop the spread, to crush the curve, I think is what we were talking about at the time. And there was just a lot of questions. I mean, more questions from our business community than we could possibly field at one moment. And I think we were all getting those questions. And so the idea came to, well, let's put together a program and let's just share what we know. And so kind of the four of us, Kimberly Tiefenthaler also was a part of that. And we just kind of had a discussion and said, what can we do? And this was what ended up coming from that. So talk to me about, Cheryl, if you would, what that first show was like, because you're the one sort of keeping stats on it for us, and maybe where we've come to.
Well, we had no idea. April Fools, that was kind of where we were at. We had no idea what was going to happen. We had no idea. We didn't even have any kind of a formal arrangement. It was, hey, we have a concept very similar to what our businesses were doing. We knew it needed to be done, and we put it together, and we just felt that this was one of those things that we needed to embrace in the community. Because my first reason I contacted everybody, I was on a Goldman Sachs call, and a gentleman from Southeast Iowa was on. He had just sunk everything he had into an event center and had expanded and had booked bands and everything, and had just gotten his license to open like 2 days before he was shut down. And he was literally crying on the call. And so that moved me. I mean, I totally understood his pain, but at the same time, I could see our other businesses. And that was where this came from. This is when I reached out to everybody and said, hey, this is what if it's happening to him there, it's got to be happening to everybody. So that was where it was at. Yeah, you're right. I did pull some stats together because I'm a digital individual with a lot of stats. And this is really exciting because it was hard to get back to some of the old ones because it was so far back. But May 7th, we had a reach of 2,637 on that program. And as of this morning on the March 25th program last week, we had 7,539. So that was the number of people that we reached. If you're in the digital world, reach is very important. That's what we're after. We're reaching out there, and those are the people that somehow saw something of our program somewhere along the line. They may not have watched an entire hour, but they have had an opportunity to see a part of the program at least.
Yeah.
And yes, and this is our 48th one. We did take a couple of weeks off during the holidays and stuff. I went through our guest speakers. We did have some speakers more than once, but we had 54 during the time, and our total time on the air was 1,390 minutes.
That's a lot of minutes.
It is a lot of minutes.
Yeah. So as we look at kind of the time that we've been doing this, we've had a lot of great guests. We've had a lot of great discussions. But let's talk a little bit about some of the changes that we've experienced. And I say that because over the course of the last year, we've had a lot of guests, and a lot of those guests have told us about all the things that they've been doing, all the changes that they've seen over the course of that year. So Darcy, tell us a little bit about your experience over the course of the last year, because I can remember back in March, late March, it was something that we were talking about was PPP. It was the most important letter that any business could possibly want to know.
Yeah, actually, whenever we hear someone say the word PPP, we kind of stop for a minute because pivot, I think, is one of the key words that has come out of the work that we've done this past year and helping businesses figure out how to do that. But yeah, we learned a lot of acronyms over the last year. You had the PPP and the EIDL. IEDA became very popular here in the state of Iowa. We've got some other ones as well. But yeah, when we started rolling out, we were all home to work from home. And our numbers last year are really quite impressive when you think about everything shutting down and the work that we were doing with business owners. We counseled 459 clients last year. That doesn't sound maybe like a lot, but it's two people. It's Kimberly and myself here at the center. We cover 12 counties. And we just had a 13th county added in October. And so now we're up to the 13. But just between March and June, we counseled 1,500 clients strictly on COVID-related issues, whether it was finding grants, helping them figure out how to keep that back door open while the front door was closed. I used that a lot over the course of the year as well, that term. But it was amazing to see, our whole, and I should have pulled the state stats because they just blew my mind when I heard how many clients we counseled throughout the state. But we did a lot of work in, helping them figure out the PPP and the EIDL. And the one thing too, with this being the first time of a global pandemic like this, things changed every minute. So we got very accustomed to saying things like, the last we knew, and we could be on 4 or 5 different update calls in a day because things were changing rapidly. The SBA website went down. It crashed because everybody was going after it to apply for the EIDL, and they had to revamp. And so it was a learning curve for a lot of organizations. Ours no different than that. I think, honestly, out of everything that happened this past year, our center especially has learned how to work more efficiently and more effectively. We traveled a lot before. It was not uncommon to be on the road for 4 hours in a day, but you can't get much done when you're on the road for 4 hours. So now we're able to kind of utilize our technology like we're doing today and have calls with clients so that we can stay in one location and be able to serve more people. And then when we do need to be face-to-face, we'll be able to make those trips and have them be even more effective. Another thing that I thought was really interesting too, I honestly didn't think we'd have very many business starts last year. People were closing down, but our center alone assisted in over 13 new business starts, creating 85 jobs for our region. We brought in and worked with businesses on bringing in 2.6 million in sales increases and capital infusion of over 3.2 million. So even though a lot of businesses were having severe crisis within their organizations, there were those that found, I think, success kind of having to pivot, there I said that word, and figure out some different ways. A lot of businesses, I think, were content with the way they were doing things. And when they were forced to look at things differently, found out, hey, I should have been doing this a long time ago. So pretty excited about where we were a year ago, what we've accomplished over from where we were a year ago.
When you look at your use of technology that you weren't previously utilizing as much, and the breakdown of less travel, do you foresee that to be something that you continue? Is this the way you operate moving forward?
Absolutely. Kimberly and I have had a lot of talks about that lately. We actually have an office in Fort Dodge and an office in Carroll. And she works partly out of the Carroll office in Fort Dodge. I'm primarily out of Fort Dodge, sometimes in Carroll. And we've talked about it, we can be more effective and get more done in a day by utilizing Zoom technology or GoToMeetings. And it used to be, we would give those options to clients and they'd be like, oh, no, we want to meet face-to-face. And there's something about meeting face-to-face. But sometimes those initial meetings with people who, I don't want to say they're not serious about starting a business, but they're really not sure what it all takes. And sometimes we never see those people again once you lay out what the steps are. So it helps it will allow us to help weed some of those people out so that we can really focus on, we're there for everyone. So don't take me wrong there, but sometimes, you have stronger candidates. And in cases like that, we can kind of decide whether we need to be face-to-face. Sometimes when we're dealing with, financial restructuring, things like that, a face-to-face meeting is really important. But yeah, technology is going to help us be more efficient and save us a lot of drive time. Our state office as well has invested in a lot of technology for our centers with specialized webcams so we can hold statewide meetings and everybody can be present with these new technology pieces. And but also it comes with some issues, and I'm sure Cheryl, you can probably relate to this, but lighting is key when it comes to doing these Zooms and things. And we've had to invest in some lighting because our office lighting is horrific. So actually today's lighting is pretty good compared to what I normally look like when I'm on this call. I'm not blown out. So it does come with some challenges too, for sure. And internet connection, if you don't have a good connection, those kinds of things. But we're utilizing a lot of the webinar platforms for our educational workshops as well. So it allows us to do several of those. Just last week, for instance, we were doing one for Region 12 Council of Governments based out of Carroll. We did a workshop series for them starting at 7:30 in the morning. Then we had a series for the Marshalltown Chamber at noon. So that would have been really hard for us to do both of those in one day if we were traveling. But with the technology, we're able to accommodate the requests from both of those organizations. So.
Sure. I want to bring Chris in to talk about this a little bit too, because she just works with so many businesses, and I know utilizing the technology has become such a thing. Chris, what do you think about how has the technology, and almost in some ways forced technology, been a factor for downtown businesses?
Well, everybody has been affected, and I like the way you said forced, because that is the way a few of our businesses had felt, but almost everyone in the downtown, as far as business goes, is now doing online sales, and that was not the case a year ago. And we have told the story of Jill Bush, owner of Rush Hour Clothing, to Main Street, Iowa. It's part of our award package that we sent into the state for their yearly award ceremony. Part of the reason that she's so successful right now is because she was listening to the three of you, and she was on the show, and she realized that she really needed to pivot, there's that word again, and do those weekly modeling sessions, her online fashion shows on Wednesdays. And that's what kept her business going. It didn't just keep it going. It increased her sales. It increased her reach. She ended up on a news show because of her decision to really go digital. And it made a huge difference in her business. So I use her story all the time because what a great way that she really kept going. She was so worried when everything started. But everybody is doing online sales. We ended up with 7 new businesses in the downtown during a global pandemic, which, is a shock. $1.9 million of investment in the properties also. And a lot of that was through Zoom and through digital showing of buildings, because the realtors are turning to more of the drone videos for commercial properties also. So we're seeing that impact through all sectors of business, and definitely it has made a really good impact in the downtown over the last year. We also did the DTR during a pandemic, which it's like, how can you bring a construction crew, into an area when you're not supposed to be close to each other? We made it work. Another $1 million project in the downtown during that year. But it shows and a great idea from Cheryl to bring everybody together. So thanks, Cheryl.
Yeah, so the beginning of this was definitely something that we all were excited about. We weren't sure exactly what it was going to look like during that period, but it has sort of it started in a way where we were disseminating as much information as we could as quickly as we could get it. Since that time, we've shifted it a little bit as well. We've changed the program as we've gone along, recognizing that, you know what, there's probably some COVID fatigue out there, but also recognizing that a lot of businesses are really curious about what other businesses are doing. And so then the idea became, well, let's bring on some guests. Let's highlight some of these folks. And Cheryl, you and Chris have both been doing a great job of finding those candidates, bringing them on to talk about what their businesses have been experiencing and how other people might be able to take an idea or two from some of those folks.
Well, you're exactly right, Jed, because people want to network and they want to hear great success stories. They also want to hear failures and how they were able to overcome that, because being an entrepreneur is not all happy days. I mean, there's problems, and I always tell people, I may write a paycheck, but I also have to clean the toilet. We have to do it on all ends. And so bringing those businesses together, we really are able to talk about real life situations. And the speakers we brought on have really brought in some great stories, on economic development projects. When we talk about the Crossroads Mall area and how they've had to change some of the things that their ideas were when they initially started, has been very interesting, and hearing that process and talking to our government agencies and all the other businesses, and hearing about businesses like what Chris said with Jill, talking about how she's understood that she needed to go out there, and the digital world is making her business is her window to her business now. It's actually her storefront and how she's grown. But until you get these businesses on there and really hear from them, I think that's one of our biggest impacts going forward, is bringing that information out and letting these people talk about that their own experiences, and being reachable to the other people that are watching our program.
Sure. Well, if you would, Cheryl, talk a little bit about what changes your business has experienced over the course of last year, and what you've seen and what changes you've made.
Well, digital, again, that's what we're about here. And a lot of individuals did not pay attention to their Google, how they look online. They did not understand the importance of contactless options out there, which could be online shopping. We've had nonprofits that needed help and assistance to put on forms on their website, because before they used to hand them out or email them out, and that was not working as effectively anymore because they could not exchange them. They needed to have a contactless situation. I've had construction companies that needed to have opportunities of how they could send quotes out without sending staff necessarily to the location. Just all of those things, and they've had to rethink how it's going to be, and have come to us as well in that regards, and understanding some of the pros and cons of some of the digital things, some of the issues that are arising. Technology is great, but sometimes it just doesn't work quite right, and you have to understand that and make that work. But you also have to retrain your staff internally, which is a lot of what we've had to do as well. Google reviews as an example, because people are looking online at your business, how you look to everybody else, how you're being reviewed is so important. But then that means that internally you have to have your staff asking for those reviews. And so that's one of those customer service things that we've had to even work with clients on, is say, okay, they're going, well, we need more Google reviews. And I go, that's great. Sometimes you have to ask for that review. So you need to have your employees be very cognizant of that and ask for those reviews so that you make sure they get on there. Just rethinking that, a variety of things. And so I think it's a positive, because it's making our businesses look at different options. Maybe the old way, as much as we like traditions, sometimes you have to make changes in it, and you can still keep your tradition, but you can also add online as well to it to enhance that, and look at the opportunities. Instead of just people within 40, 50 miles of your business, you're now available across the world out there.
Darcy, do you think that those businesses who are able to persevere, those businesses who are able to make it through, do you think they come out stronger because of this?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And like I said, a lot of businesses were just content, right? They're doing things the same way over and over and over again. And rush hour is a great example. I had stopped in the other day and talked with Jill, and she said, this is a lot of work. This is a lot of work to put these weekly, online shopping experiences out there. But I'm glad that I was forced to do it, because my sales are the best they've been. And she's got clients coming from all over now that didn't even know she existed before, because they've seen her online. So there's huge advantages to that. I think it makes the strong stronger. I think it also identifies areas of opportunity for businesses. I know a lot of business owners just work their business. It's sales out the door and revenue coming in, they pay their bills, that kind of thing. And what we're working with a lot of businesses on right now is understanding their financials. A lot of business owners don't even know their break even. And so we're helping them identify that, especially like with the PPP and the EIDL loans. A lot of business owners didn't even know how to read a balance sheet, because they really haven't had to. They just do their business. And so we're trying to educate and make business owners smarter about their business. So they can come out of a situation like what we've incurred just recently stronger. And it shut down those that were weak, those that, probably were hanging on by a thread anyway. Unfortunately, we saw quite a few of those as well.
Yeah, it certainly did create opportunity for those who were ready for it, and for those who could see those opportunities and make adjustments as needed. So what a great thing to have you guys available. And so if you would talk about some of the things that you guys have coming up, because it's not just a year in review. You guys still have things coming up as well.
We do. And as I said before the show started, probably one of our biggest hurdles that we have to overcome at the Small Business Development Center is 100% of what we do is confidential. So it's hard for us to go out and toot our horn unless we have a client who's agreed to sign a release form for us to do that. So unfortunately, a lot of times we have to talk in generalities, and that can be tough. But for those that aren't aware of the SBDC, we are federally funded through grants. And so our services are at no cost to our clients. And we work with a wide range of different situations for clients. So we work with those that say, hey, I got this really great idea, and I think it would be a good business. So we work with them through a process of, consumer insight, research, and things like that. We work on cash flow projections. We work on business plans, help them get their tax ID numbers and how to file their business entity with the state, all those kinds of things. So we do a wide range of work like that with startups. We also are doing a lot of work with existing businesses. They may have an HR question, or they may have a financial question. Education's huge. We've got a QuickBooks workshop that we're going to be putting together. We have a lot of requests for, hey, I use QuickBooks, but I know I'm not using it correctly. Can you help me? And so we've got opportunities as a result of clients asking for those types of things. We also have a lot of businesses right now that are expanding, which is awesome. So we're working with them on, financial restructuring. We've got several that we're working with on some debt issues. We do a lot of work with our local EDs on revolving loan funds. We've been working very closely with the local group there in Fort Dodge, Pathfinders, with Kathy and Brandon, and working with clients and helping them with their application process, pulling together the financials, working on their business plans, things like that they need to do. So we do a lot of that kind of work as well. Never a dull day, never 2 days alike. We also do a lot of work with succession planning, and we're seeing a lot of that right now. Kimberly and I are going to be getting certified as exit planning specialists coming up here in the next few months. So we'll be able to work very closely with those folks. We get, actually in the last 2 weeks, we've had 2 calls from people. One wanted a valuation on their business because they're getting ready to sell it, and another wanted some assistance with not necessarily the valuation part, but packaging the business to get it ready to sell. So we do a lot of those kinds of things as well. We have a lot of educational workshops that we work on, not just in the area that I'm kind of more familiar with the marketing side, but we have human resources and financial, all different kinds of things there. We also have been working closely with a team out of Iowa State University on putting together a Latino outreach program. And we're going to be rolling that out later this year so we can work with that population and helping them become more successful. They're amazing business owners. A lot of times language barriers come into play there. So we've got, Hispanic speaking folks on our team that can bridge that gap. One of the things I wanted to mention too, and then I just have a couple of quick updates on some grants that I wanted to share as well. But next Friday, we are going to be finalizing our Innovate U Student Entrepreneurial Challenge, which happens to be based right now down in Carroll, but we'd love to bring it to the Fort Dodge area. It's kind of like a Shark Tank experience. What we're doing is working with high school seniors who are taking classes. We happen to be working with DMAC right now, but also we're hosted by Iowa Central, so we've been talking to them about this program too. But it gets the young minds to start thinking like an entrepreneur. What's a problem I can solve? What's a product or service to solve that problem? What kind of market might I find for this product? What should I price it at? All of those kinds of things. And so we have, over the last, I think, 6 weeks now, and it's a virtual platform right now, which is very different than what we've done before. But we've had entrepreneurs come in and talk about their stories, which I find very fascinating. Having them talk about the failures they've had and how they've had to pick themselves back up, how they've had to go down different avenues, all of those kinds of things, because it takes a special breed to be an entrepreneur, and you can't take no and go, okay, yeah, that's probably not a good idea, and walk away. You really need to be, determined, as long as the signs are there that this is something you want to do. And so we've been working with those students, and next Friday, they are branching off into teams to put their pitches together, and they're going to do like a Shark Tank, and they're going to go out and pitch their ideas to some local business owners. And we've been very fortunate to partner with Avela Bank on the 2 Innovate U programs that we've launched, and also with DMAC for this particular one, and Google is our national partner. And so we're really excited about this program and would love to bring it to this area in the Fort Dodge region, and we're working on that. So hopefully we can share some news on that maybe for the spring. And then the last thing I just wanted to touch base on real quick, and this is one of the things that we do at the center, we get a lot of calls from folks saying, what grants are out there? I need money. Well, I'll tell you right now, there's not a lot of grants out there to start a business, but right now there's a lot of COVID relief opportunities. For those that are familiar with the Payroll Protection Program, that application the deadline was the end of March. It has now been extended through May 31st. They've opened it up to really help kind of provide more funding options for the self-employed, sole proprietors, independent contractors, those folks. They've revised the formula used to figure funding, so more dollars can go to those that weren't really addressed for the first round. The best thing to do there is to contact your local lender. Our community banks have been phenomenal through this whole COVID situation. We heard from Green State Credit Union not too long ago. We've got these institutions that are in our local communities wanting to see our small businesses be successful. And so reach out if your particular institution is not providing PPP, you can call our center and we can help you locate one in your area for sure. Also, I wanted to just share 2 other quick grants that are going to be coming out. On April 8th, there is going to be the Shuttered Venue Grants. Like, this is a grant, not a loan. And this is going to be going out to live venue businesses impacted by COVID. As we know, a lot of the movie theaters and live entertainment museums, places like that were shut down when COVID first hit. So these grants will go to help assist them. The grants available would be up to 45% of the gross revenue earned. And then the other one that I wanted to mention is the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. We do a lot of work with restaurants. I'll tell you right now, we have a lot of restaurant, business owners wanting to open restaurants, which I find very interesting. But they figure, why not roll out when everyone else is? So it's a great way to look at opportunity. But this grant for the restaurants would be for those with fewer than 20 locations. And basically you just subtract your 2020 sales from 2019 revenues. And this will be a grant that's applied directly through the SBA. I don't have a date release on that yet. It's not open. But as soon as that is, I'll make sure that we get that information out there. So just a couple of other little bits that we do in working with business owners is assisting them with finding those grants and answering their questions.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about Alpha Media over the last year because, well, I can, and it's a great opportunity to do so. So very interesting over the last year. You know, a lot of folks don't know that Alpha Media is the 4th largest media company in the United States. Over 200 radio stations across the United States. Here in Fort Dodge, I have the pleasure of getting to run 7 of those, and some great opportunities that we have with that. But Alpha Media really has become a data-driven company. We've been spending our COVID time over the last year ensuring that we are doing what our consumers want us to do, and that's to utilize the data that we have available to us. Some of those things include finding ways to become trackable when you're talking about radio. That's always been one of our business owners and advertisers' major wonders. It's how do you know what advertising is working, right? And if you knew that, you'd be a billionaire, right? So what we've done is we've partnered with a company called Veritone, and they have some software that's allowing us to track website lift based on your radio commercials. And so what it does is when a radio commercial airs, it tracks your website within 8 minutes of that commercial airing to see, is your website getting lift? And most of our clients are finding that, yeah, it is. And as a matter of fact, they're getting anywhere between 5 and 20% lift based on when those commercials air. So really, really effective. And this is really the first time that many business owners have ever said, oh, wow, I have a way to tell what's working and what's not. Some other neat factors with it is the ability to A/B test your commercials. And so you'll be able to tell which commercials are giving you the most lift to your website. You'll be able to tell which days of the week are most effective for your advertising. You'll be able to tell which days, what time of day is most effective for your advertising. And so having this data, becoming data-driven, really gives our advertisers the opportunity to know what's working and maximize those dollars. So really exciting there. And also, Alpha Media is really becoming a digital company when it comes to digital products as well. I know Cheryl does a lot of digital sales. We do a lot of digital sales. Nationally, almost 20% of our business is now coming on the digital arena. And so a lot of folks think of Alpha Media and they think radio station. It's a lot more than that today. We're a full service digital media company. And a big part of that over the last year has become video. We've been fully committed to doing the video services. And a part of that is something that we have provided no cost, which was that wrestling coverage of the district tournament here in Fort Dodge. We were so excited to be a part of that, provide that coverage for our area. And I got to tell you, if there was one thing that we found from doing that, it's we did not expect the numbers of people from outside our area who were hopping on. Folks out of Des Moines who were able to find that stream and say, oh, I can't make it, but I'm going to go ahead and log on. So you can definitely be a local business and a global business or a regional business all at once. And so that's one of the key things that we've learned from doing all of this video is it really does enable you to become a global business or a regional business, but still be local, because we still want to be a local business and we still want to talk to our local consumers in the same way. The other end of video that's been really exciting for us is our OTT and connected TV video. We have a lot of clients and talking about being global. Some of those aren't even local businesses, right? We have regional businesses who are working with us to provide video ads inside your Hulu or inside some of these other streaming services that traditionally you would thought of as broadcast TV. But no, something that Alpha Media has really been focusing on over the last year and doing a great job of. So we're excited about video. And if anybody's doing video in your business, the one thing that I want to say is don't worry so much about the video quality. Yes, we want good lighting. Yes, we want those things. But your iPhone will do a great job right out of the gate. Please just give it a shot and jump into the video world, because you absolutely won't regret it. So yeah, that's kind of the part that we're excited about at Alpha Media. There's just a lot going on, and being really a data-driven company has obviously changed some of the ways that our clients are seeing their advertising. Because just like in the digital world, Cheryl, where you can look and see, hey, is this working? It's nice to be able to do that with other areas of your advertising as well.
Right. And you brought up all the key points that I spent. The data-driven, which Darcy can understand as well. We've been data-driven as far as revenue numbers, sales and that type of thing, but nobody's ever tracked marketing. It's just been, okay, I know I need to spend money, but I really have no idea what I return unless you're handing out a coupon or a code or something like that. And you can only do that so much.
Right. And so many people don't like to use them. I mean, there's a segment of people who won't ever use them. I always chuckle when business owners will say, well, my staff asks everybody when they walk through the door how you heard about us. And I just think, how'd you hear about McDonald's? Right? Typically, it's not a question that's not going to give you the answer that you think it's going to give. We did a study with a college back in Wyoming, and they actually did just that. They asked everybody via survey, how'd you hear about us? And over a third of the people mentioned a product that they weren't even available to be heard on or seen on. And so that's just the nature of this beast. But I understand how it happens, right? Because this is really how this works. You're driving down the road and you hear an ad on the radio, and you're not in the market for that at the moment. So it just sort of goes into the recesses of your brain and you don't think about it. Maybe you hear it a few more times. You drive past the business as well and you see a sign for that business 2 or 3 times, but kind of goes into the recesses of your brain because you're not really in the market for it right now. And then you happen to see somebody, you happen to see an ad for it on Facebook as well. Scroll right past it because you're not really thinking of it. Then all of a sudden you're in the market for it. You ask a friend, they name the business that you're talking about and that you've seen. And then you go to Google and you Google it and it pops up on Google AdWords. You call them. And then the business owner says, how did you hear about us? And you say, I heard it from a friend.
Yeah.
Right? That's really the world, the omni-channel world that we live in. There's really no way to say it was this one thing. When you're in a real world, your marketing is omni-channel, and that's what you want. You don't want them to necessarily only be hit in one location, because the world we live in today is too complex. You
Right.
need to talk to these folks in multiple locations. And so the old idea of just asking, where'd you hear about us? It sort of makes me chuckle. You can keep doing it if you want, but it just sort of makes me chuckle because it's not really living in the world that we live in today.
And what a great analogy, because that's exactly what I see all the time. I know Darcy and Chris can say the same thing, but you're exactly right. Or how did I find out about it? Well, I Googled it, which was what your last one, but they forget about all the steps that got to the point before they even Googled it out there. So it's not necessarily that Google was the only way that they found out about it, but it was one of those resources. And I think that's what you're highlighting as well, Jed, is that you need to think about the whole picture, not just one aspect of it. And not all digital platforms are appropriate for all businesses, as well as not all marketing is best for all businesses. You need to determine what works for what your goal is. What are you trying to accomplish? And find out with the data who your demographic is. And that's going to tell you better as to what your marketing is or who you're going after.
Yeah,
And
I
Cheryl,
love
that's one of my biggest pet peeves when we do our marketing classes. I always start with the fundamentals, because if you don't know who your customer is, you don't know how to communicate with them or what their problem is or where they're seeking information. And so I cringe when I'll ask a client, describe to me your ideal customer or your low-hanging fruit customer. And they look at me and they go, well, everybody's my customer.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, they're not. And their looks on their faces are like, well, okay, you got to peel back that onion, keep getting to the core of it, and then you'll find who that low-hanging fruit is. So I appreciate you saying that, because you do have to know who your customer is, because you're right. You're going to talk to a 90-year-old customer very differently than you're going to talk to a 20-year-old. Totally different platforms, totally different messaging. And if you don't know that, then I'm not really sure why you're even in business, to be honest, because
In today's world, yes, very
Well,
much.
and this is one of the things that, as we've talked about, moving forward into the year 2 of our business community support discussions, these are some of the things that we're going to be digging into. We're going to start to give some of these resources and give ways where folks can really learn how to dig into some of these things. So I'm excited about that. Let's shift a little bit. Let's talk about the virtual small business coaching services that are coming available. Chris?
Sure. So I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, and I'm really excited about this. We had a training on Monday with Main Street, Iowa, and this does not take place of anything that the SBDC is doing. We are really good partners with Kimberly and Darcy, and we send recommendations over to them all the time. But Main Street, Iowa has partnered with the Rural Network. And what this is a virtual business lab that's going to be on our website, and there will be a connection on our Facebook page too. So any business that's in our Main Street or just outside our Main Street can take advantage of this. Any business question, it can be HR, it can be time management, it can be a startup business that really doesn't know what they need to know, right? And they can make an appointment virtually with the great staff through this company that is based out of Dubuque, and just pick a time for their business consultation. And the cool thing about them is sometimes you can even have a meeting the same day as you think about this. You don't even have to wait. Turnaround time is 3 days, so sometimes you do have to wait a little bit longer for a special consultant. But we're really excited to offer this pilot program to Fort Dodge and to see if this is something that the Iowa Economic Development Authority wants to roll out across the state. Again, just another tool in the toolbox. You can't always reach the people that are local. So this still is a local service through us, but we have a nice wide net of different specialists that will be able to bring in and help our businesses, not just in the Main Street district, we found out, but those startups, those home-based businesses that are thinking about, well, do I want to go into a brick and mortar store? Feel free to jump on our website. The link should be up next week, and get in and talk to a specialist. And then that is really that impetus then to reach out to Darcy and Kimberly and start your full business plan and get going so you can have that business in the downtown. That's what we want to see, is people downtown. Oh, and we still have Small Business Day up on here too, which is great. So that is April 13th. And the Main Street America conference is going on the 13th through the 15th. And if you are interested, you can still join them for that April 13th Small Business Day. We've got quite a few people that have already registered. Just reach out to me at my email, Kris, K-R-I-S, at mainstreetfd.org. And I will definitely get you that information. Also want to mention that we have Chicks Night Out going on April 15th. That's our retail extravaganza for spring, finally back into a regular event. But they're also doing a word hunt scramble for those people that still don't feel comfortable going into stores. There will be big flowers in each of the participating businesses, and you need to spell Chicks Night Out to enter a contest to win some really fun items from each of those. I think it's 9 or 11 businesses that are participating.
Very good.
So just a little bit about what's going on downtown. And there it is. And that happened, is happening this week. So anybody that's still wanting to come downtown and find those Easter eggs, they will be up through next Monday.
Okay. Well, very good. So happy anniversary to all of you. Thanks so much for allowing me to be a part of it as well. I've enjoyed it very much, and just learning from our guests and being able to share information as well. Anything that we need to cover that we haven't already talked about?
Well, I just looking at the time and who would have thought we could fill a full hour just talking about our 1-year anniversary, but yeah.
Well, we got to talk about ourselves, so there you go.
Well, that's true too. We don't get to talk about that a lot because we have our speakers on. But Darcy and Jed and Chris and I have all made those comments of what we learned during this program as well. I always say I consider myself very knowledgeable, but there's still, thank you, Nikki, for a happy anniversary. I always consider myself very knowledgeable, but I learn something all the time as well. So this isn't necessarily just everybody can learn something from it. So I highly encourage people to go in, watch some of it, and it's live all the time. It's always available. So if 2:00 in the morning you're up doing feeding, there you go, Jed, with a new baby, you can go and actually watch the show.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it.
Thanks
Go
again,
ahead.
Jed.
Oh, I'm happy to
I
do
wanted
it.
to say thank you, Jed. We really appreciate it. Without you and Alpha Media, it wouldn't be online. So thank you.
Yep, we're excited to do it and just happy to be a part of it. So, you know what? The show goes on every single Thursday, 9 a.m. at the Main Street Fort Dodge Facebook page, and also available at the Alpha Media YouTube channel as well. Be sure to join us. It is an interactive show. If you have comments, questions, thoughts, concerns, anger, vitriol, heartburn, share it with us. We love to hear all your comments. And so just put those there right in Facebook, and they can become part of the show as well. So we always enjoy that very much. And of course, if you can't watch it live, you can always watch the show in its past recorded versions there on the Main Street Fort Dodge Facebook page. So once again, thank you to all our contributors who make this possible every single week for the last year. Cheryl Ahern with Spin Market Plus Digital, also Chris Patrick, the Executive Director at Main Street Fort Dodge, and America's SBDC, always helping us out as well. Today's guest is Darcy Swan. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Have a great Easter, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.